What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Hopefully, you guys all learned something tonight because we're just going to have this informal discussion. This is not a debate. This is just a discussion like we have every other night where everybody has their own doctrines and we all just kind of throw ideas at each other to try to learn, get closer to God, and, try to find the truth within the scriptures. So, Rabbi Lewis, a lot of you guys obviously know him, but he's got his friend Hezekiah, and I'll let him speak for himself on what his doctrine is. But obviously, you guys know I'm going to be supporting the Christian doctrine. But yeah, go ahead, Hezekiah, and just let the people know basically where you're coming from as far as doctrine and what brought us here.
Okay, well, my name is Hezekiah ben Israel. It's the Hebraic way of saying Hezekiah, so it's Hezekiah ben Israel. Hezekiah ben Israel meaning son of Israel. I don't really do doctrine; I just do truth. What does the book say? The deeper meaning of the book, the etymology of the language, the linguistic side of it, the artifact side of it, the history. Deep, like I said again, deep research, going into deep research to figure out what the people, my forefathers of antiquity, were really saying. Not trying to bring them into the 21st century, 22nd century, but literally going back in time to where they were, looking at the language, the linguistics, the pottery, the artifacts, etc., to understand the story they were telling me, as the book of Malachi, chapter 3 states, with the book of remembrance, what people call commonly the Old Testament. It's called the book of remembrance. That's what my forefather called it, because they knew one day that when their sons and their great grandsons and great great grandsons, their descendants, started to turn back to Yah, as 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 46 states, Solomon's supplication. We see Daniel do the same thing in the book of Daniel, chapter 2. But when the Creator started to wake us back up in the last days, before he brought judgment on this wicked kingdom, these wicked empires that are full with serpent and cockatrice doctrines. You read about that in the book of Jeremiah, the book of Isaiah, with all of these religions like Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, all of these different methodologies that people are trying to reach the Creator with that He never sanctioned or authorized. And again, we would be able to come out of that darkness, and the Most High would do what He did as times past, from Egypt, from Mesopotamia with Shalomon or Kusharethaim, the Mesopotamian king, during the time of the book of Judges with Ehud, Othniel, Barak, Deborah, during the time of Hadassah, commonly known as Esther, over in Persia, coming down to the times of the Babylonians with Nebuchadnezzar. During those time frames, when our forefathers was in captivities, there we've been in dozens upon dozens of captivities, and it's always the same thing as Malachi 3:6 says, "For I am the Lord God, I change not." Yah doesn't change. He will always raise up one of my brothers or one of our brethren amongst us. We never have dead people come back to life to save us and lead us out of captivity. And as Most High said, sacrifice His only Son, which Exodus 4:22 cuts. Israel is His son and only His firstborn son. And with that being the case, there's no other room for Jesus, Yehoshua, Yahweh, or Yeshua, or any other derivative people like to use to call, because that is just current day Baal worship. Baal, as you know, was the son of El in ancient in the ancient Canaanite teachings, and we see the same exact thing going on today. People are saying that Jesus is the offspring. I was told by Jesse he was the offspring of the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit came down to Mary and impregnated a espoused man's wife, which we all know according to the law that is adultery. So now we got the Creator committing adultery. Now we got the demigod stuff going on again. We got the Baal, the pantheon of Baal going on, Kos, the Edomite gods, all these different things that we see consistently. And this is all being pushed and manipulated by the Amalekite Edomite um, people of the book, known as the Edomites, that are literally trying to take the bloodline and descendant of the children of Israel and destroy us through falsification and through idolatry. So again, I'm Hezekiah ben Israel, and I'm only a messenger of truth. I don't do doctrines. I don't do religions. The book should be able to stand. I use history, secular sources, biblical sources, concordances, dictionaries, etc., all at my disposal.
All right. Yeah, no, that's a lot, man. I can respect where you're coming from. I don't think any of us don't want to get closer to the truth, like as exact to the original text as possible. Obviously, translations, are different, and we got to be careful and go to the interlinear and so forth. Speaking on that, do you? I mean, I've tried to do it. I failed miserably at it. But do you try to speak Hebrew? Are you somebody that subscribes to try? Because Paleo Hebrew, we understand preceded the modern Hebrew, but nobody has heard it, verbally spoken. So it's kind of impossible for that language to be verbalized. Like, what type of study as far as that do you get into? Do you try to learn the Hebrew? Do you speak Hebrew? Can you just give it? And also, just how long have you been doing this? Just one last thing, just to ask.
Yes, I speak Hebrew, classical Hebrew, biblical Hebrew fluently. Yes, so again, Shema Yisrael Yalehinu Yaakad.
Mhm.
It's all about getting down to, like I said prior, to my forefathers, my ancestors, getting down to what they were trying to say to me, not what I want them to say in modern times, not transliterations, not translations, as you're correct, dealing with what we call Paleo Hebrew, which is Proto-Semitic. It's not Paleo Hebrew. The word Paleo just means ancient, but that's Proto-Semitic, a Canaanite dialect that we actually spoke, my forefathers spoke. You're right, it's not a spoken language today,
Mhm.
but again, you can still learn it by looking at classical and biblical Hebrew because, of course, the script changed, but the language doesn't change. You started to see loan words like Nisan from the Babylonian captivity. Nisan started to replace Abib, which is the first month, which is typically April. We call April today. So you'll start seeing loan words from other people, and that's just expected when you look at a group of people that have been enslaved by almost every nation on the planet. So we're going to go into these nations just like today. I'm speaking to you casually in English. I can speak to
Mhm.
you in Hebrew fluently. But again, we see all those things. And I've been doing this right now going on almost 2 decades.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, like I said, man, I respect anybody that can learn Hebrew. I've tried, and it's hard, especially by yourself, which obviously that's how I started. So I'm not giving up on my journey, but I just know it's not an easy language to learn, let alone by
Well,
yourself.
well, let
But
me say this. Let me say this. If you want to learn Hebrew by yourself, you have to treat it just like you learn English, which is what? Treat it 5 subject notebook, dictionary, give yourself spelling tests. First, you'll trace the alphabets, right?
Mhm.
Aleph, Bet, Gamil, Dalet. You'll trace all of those to learn how to recognize them when you see them. You don't have to worry about lowercase because it's only uppercase, right? So that's very simple, 22 characters. You learn those first, you write those and trace those over and over again to learn to recognize those. Then you can learn about the vowel points of the Nakud system, which is fairly simple as well. If you want to use the Nakud system, which helps you in pronunciation because you can't pronounce consonants per se. All vowels are where we get the actual pronunciation with consonants, right? And then from there, you just get your dictionary. You get you a dictionary, a concordance, and you start to look up the words. And you start with the very base words, just like if you were in kindergarten. You start with the very basic words: brother, sister, right? Akoti, Aki, right? Heaven, Shemayim, right? Earth, Aretz, right? You start going through and learning the tribes: Dan, Don, right? Yahuda, Judah, Benjamin, Benjamin, right? You just start going through learning those and giving yourself spelling tests. And by doing that, you really typically, to be honest with you, even in English, the average person doesn't even know 300 words in English,
Yeah,
but
no,
speak it
I hear
fluently.
you. I know what you're saying. People, even struggle with English itself, let alone
Hmm.
learning another one. But yeah, I got you. So I mean, it seemed like you're pretty adamant that your old. I mean, you go through the whole Tanakh because you obviously quoted the book of Malachi, right? I mean, is that a fair way to say it? You go through the whole. I mean, Tanakh to me is just the Old Testament, right?
Yes, the because people say Torah and they think Torah is the first 5 books. That's what man calls it. Nowhere in the book will it tell you the first 5 books is the Torah. The word Torah comes from the word Torah, which means law, instructions. So
Yeah.
the law instructions are all throughout, from Bereshit or Genesis all the way to Malachi or Malachi. So yes, that's Old Testament is another term that was created by Gentiles that they put on the book. There's no such thing as the Old Testament because Yah's word is ever living. So it can't be old.
So how do you refer to it? Just so we're communicating on the same level, Tanakh or Torah? Like how do you consider what I consider the Old Testament?
I call it what Malachi, or the last prophet, the last book of the so-called Old Testament, Malachi chapter 3, and chapter 4. He calls it what? The book of remembrance.
Okay,
Because that's what it is, the book you remember. You got to go back and remember the laws, instructions, precepts, ordinances, and judgments. Laws, statutes, commandments, precepts, ordinances, and judgments. You remember those things, and that's what the book is. So it's just
gotcha.
the book of remembrance.
Gotcha. I just want to be on the same page and for people in the audience. So we're just going to call for people listening the Old Testament, the Book of Remembrance, out of respect for Rabbi Lewis's friend here and our guest. So yeah, we'll just call it the Book of Remembrance, just so we're on the same page. So just to start, you know, you believe in obviously a Messiah, and you seem like the fact that Jesus was, raised from the grave was a big problem, for the Christian Messiah, trying to fulfill the prophecies. What about Jesus being raised from the grave? Just as so, it seems like it was a bad reaction for you, where you said like is it because it doesn't fulfill the prophecies, or is it because it's sort of supernatural? Because we see God. My question, basically long winded, is God does all sorts of supernatural miracles. We know that. Moses' staff turns to a snake. Everything, we don't have to list them. We're all familiar with the book. Like there's a million miracles, and Elijah's raised people from the dead. You know what I mean? That woman's son, he raised him from the dead. So what about Jesus being raised from the dead really rubs you wrong? Is it just because it doesn't fulfill the Book of Remembrance's prophecies?
Well, as you just so eloquently stated, when we look at the book of Amos tells us what? Surely the Most High, Yah, will not do anything without revealing to his servants the prophet first. There is
Mhm.
no chapter, verse, scripture in what we call the book of remembrance, aka Old Testament, that says a man would come on the scene, die for the sins of the children of Israel, and be resurrected on the third day. That doesn't exist anywhere from Bereshit to Malachi, and those are the prophets. The New Testament does not contain prophets, as the book of Hebrews state in sundry times past. He spoke through prophets, meaning he doesn't do it in the New Testament. There are no New Testament prophets. So again, we would have to find this narrative, this story, where it's being told to the prophets first, and that's in the book of Amos. That's what the
Mhm.
creator told us. So if we don't see that, then of course that's the problem I have with it. Plus, it takes the hugest problem I have with it is that it takes the focus of worship from the true and ever living creator, Shema Yisrael, Yah Eloheinu, Yah Akkad, Hadabarim 6 and 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one, not two, not three, one. Yeshaya 43 and 11. There's no savior but Yah.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that's the issue.
I got you. That's fair. The thing with me is I do see certain prophecies, talking about Jesus in the Old Testament. So obviously we'll get into those while we go through the show here. But when it says the Lord, because I've had this discussion with a lot of people, because even believing in the Trinity nature of God is a hard thing to explain. Because human beings, we can all say, well, how is three one or whatever? You know what I mean? We could all go there. You'll agree, like when God was in the wilderness and he was both a cloud during the day and then fire at night, that doesn't mean that the Lord our God isn't still one, right? Because he was in two different states.
Well, no, when it says, it didn't say he was a cloud, it said he led us by a cloud and by a pillar of fire. It never said he was himself. It said he led us with those things. Just like if I have a flashlight, that flashlight will illuminate me at night. So that's the fire at night. And then the cloud by day, you can look up out on a clear day and see the clouds, and that'll lead you. So it didn't say he himself was a cloud or a pillar of fire. It said he led the children of Israel in the wilderness with a cloud and a pillar of fire.
You don't think that God's nature was within those clouds or the fire?
No, I don't think his nature is within those things because remember, all things were created by him. So therefore, we look at Bereshit chapter 1, chapter 2, we see the creation and we see that the creator created those things. That's why we're not to worship those things. He created those things. They're just tools. He's outside of time. He doesn't, a fire has to consume oxygen, things like that. It needs sustenance. The creator doesn't need sustenance because he's the creator. He's self-sustaining. So no, he's not a fire, because a fire needs oxygen, right? It needs wind, right? It needs something to burn. And then we know a cloud itself. We know what a cloud is, dealing with the different types of cloud, like nimbus and things like that, and what they do, and how clouds are formed, and how we get rain. Again, that's the ecosystem of this planet that we're under. That's anthropomorphism, things that we can look at and we can understand, but the creator's not those things.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree that he's not just one thing, obviously, because I'm not limiting God to just being one of those things. But for me, when I read the book, it seems like God does, he is taking those different forms at times, or at least his essence is within those forms. He's, within the cloud or within the fire. I mean, it's okay to disagree. We don't have to agree on everything either. But what about the fact that how do we know where King David's bloodline is today? Because that's a question I have for just traditional Jewish people who say Jesus isn't the Messiah. How do we get around that we don't know who King David's bloodline is right now, and how do we get around the fact that and I don't want to just keep asking you questions. You can ask me questions too anytime. So don't make I don't want to make it seem like I'm just trying to ask you. I'm just trying to get an understand where you're coming from. There's not really a kingdom in Israel like there was back in the day, and we don't know who King David's, bloodline is right now. So how do you reconcile that for Jesus not, being your Messiah? How are we going to know who your Messiah is going to be, and where is he going to come from? Is he in Israel right now?
No, this is one thing. If you go to the book of Jeremiah,
Yep.
we see consistently it tells us that he will multiply the seed of David. So the creator is the one that chooses who's going to be the governor or the king, who's going to be the governor or the king. That's not my decision. That's not man's decision. We don't make kings or governors. The creator does. The creator chose Shaul or Saul. The creator chose Dawid. The creator chose Shlomo. The creator chose Rehoboam. We don't choose people. Matter of fact, you start to look at the Maccabees, they started trying to choose to put themselves on the throne. We don't do that. That's the creator's job. He is the mouthpiece. He is the king. That's why you'll see me refer to the word as governor, because really the kings that we call kings are really just governors. We govern the people at the behest of the king himself. There's only one king. That's Yah of hosts, Yah our righteousness. So when you look at it from that standpoint, the bloodline is what Yah knows, just like Yah knows what tribes we're from. When he brings us back under the bond of the covenant, you can read about that in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, when he's going to let us know exactly who we are, what tribes we're from, what our allotments and land is going to be. It's the same thing with our leader, as he did with Moshe. Remember, the children of Israel in Egypt, they didn't know who Moshe was before Moshe came. Moshe showed up after being told by Yah to go. And we know Moshe was a governor or a king. And it says that in the book. He was first called king or governor in Yeshurun. So the Most High himself, he chooses who's going to lead his people because it's his show. When we start doing things outside of the creator, that's when we, as the children of Israel, run into trouble. We run into major problems trying to do things on our own accord by our own wisdom and understanding. And the Most High told us not to lean into our understanding, our own wisdom and understanding. So as far as in just like prime example, when you like we just talked about Yahushua, his name was Oshua ben Nun, and then he became our second governor. After Moshe died, he was Moshe's successor. But who chose him? The book of Joshua, chapter 1 tells you the creator himself chose him. Again, we don't do any choosing. We don't put a king over us. Now, when you read Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, Hadabarim 28, it tells us you and the king you chose to put over you shall go into captivity. That's when we're wrong, when we're trying to establish the kingdom ourselves. It's the creative show.
Yeah. What evidence for your own faith has shown you that you are for instance a descendant of the Israelites in today's world? What evidence in the Bible has shown you that you fit that role?
Hadabarim chapter 28 verses 15 through 67. Hadabarim is the book of Deuteronomy. Chapter 28, verses 15 through 67. In that chapter, Yah tells you all these curses from 15 through 67 shall befall the children of Israel. Not some, not one or two, because a lot of people like to play those games and say things like, well, you guys weren't the only people enslaved. or you weren't the only people that had your wives taken from you or had your children taken from you. But we are the only people that literally follow Hadabarim chapter 28, 15 through 67. And in that chapter, it does tell us that these are signs to let us know we're the children of Israel. And no other nation of people can really make this claim. Because when you go back and look at yoke of iron, if you Google right now yoke of iron, you type in yoke of iron, no one has had yokes of iron on their necks but us. And yoke of iron is literally in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48, if I'm not mistaken.
You take that yoke of iron as a literal piece of metal around your neck?
Yes, it's a curse. The curses are literal. The curses are not figurative.
Oh no, man. That is describing like when Rehoboam's, Solomon's son Rehoboam took over, they asked him, what type of yoke he's gonna put on people, and he used, I don't want to misquote and say he used iron yoke, because I'm not
No,
positive.
well,
He used, you understand what I'm saying? He used
yeah.
a heavy yoke, where like Christians believe Jesus put a gentle yoke. If we go to that verse where it's talking about a yoke of iron, if you read the next verses, it tells you that same nation that's putting that yoke of iron on those people, they're going to invade the land of Israel. You see that, right?
Well, let's go to Deuteronomy 28 real quick, because when you look at the term yoke of iron,
Yeah.
because first off, when you start at Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14, those are all the blessings. Those are all literal. That's nothing there is figurative. That's all literal. So when we start down here and we go down to verse 48, this is what it says. It says,
this is in the
therefore,
ESV, so I don't know what version do you usually, when you use an English, I don't know, it seems like you probably use Hebrew on your own, but just so we all can be watching it and following along and people can see what translation do you usually use, and why, can I also ask you, are you leaving out 28:68? Because usually a lot of people that call themselves Israelites, that's like one of their more important verses. Why is it just because in the Hebrew text the Deuteronomy only goes to 67 or something?
no, it goes to 68, but a lot of people misunderstand 68, and you get these prophecies that America is Egypt and all of this other nonsense. We did go back into Egypt prior in actual history. I have encyclopedias and all types of literature here to prove that. That actually did happen to us, and they wouldn't buy us again because the Egyptians knew what happened the first time. But I don't mention that because that's not a curse. That's a judgment. So when you look at the curses, notice I'm very careful and I'm methodical in what I say. The curses are 15 through 67. That's the effect or what's going to happen as far as in the judgment. With somebody mistreating you, things like that. That's why I never use 68, because going on ships, again, not all the 12 tribes of Israel went on ships, but we do know 15 through 67 happened to all the 13 tribes, actually not 12. It's 13, and that's real easy. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. Now, when you look at Joseph, that's 12 tribes, but Joseph actually split into two. That's Ephraim and Manasseh. So that's 13. Okay, that's 13 tribes.
Okay, but this verse here, 48, which ties into verse 47, you don't think it also is included in the next couple verses? Like, I don't take this yoke of iron as a piece of metal around somebody's neck. I take it as a metaphor. You're not taking it as a metaphor, though, right?
Well, no, it's not a metaphor because it's literally slavery. When you type in yoke of iron, just Google yoke of iron, you'll see a common theme that comes up. Literally, my ancestors with yokes of iron on their necks, not figurative yokes of iron, literal yokes of iron. And no other people can make that claim.
Yeah, but this verse you think is God? Let's just read the verse. I mean, this is just in the ESV, so we'll read 47. Because you did not serve the Lord your God with joyfulness. And then before I preface this, before we get into all this, I don't care what anybody calls themselves, as long as they're just, loving their neighbor. Because we know Leviticus 19:18 says we're supposed to love our neighbor. So it doesn't matter if you're New Testament or Old Testament, we're just supposed to love our neighbor. So at the end of the day, it doesn't affect me one way or the other if somebody calls themselves, a turtle. You know what I mean? So I don't care. If somebody wants to call themselves, anything, it doesn't affect me and my faith with God. So I have no problem with somebody that wants to call themselves Israelite. My only issue is when people do that, it doesn't seem like they're following the book of remembrance, as far as also letting the sojourner or the other nation, enjoy God's covenant too. Nowadays, it seems like nowadays when people say they're an Israelite, it's much more of an exclusive thing where now they've taken, what I see in the old, the Book of Remembrance as a covenant that God is willing to, allow other people and nations to, join, and they take it and they make it like this exclusive club. So that's my main issue with it. But yeah, I mean, I just want to preface before we get into all this, because this isn't like at the end of the conversation, I want you to identify with whatever brings you closer to God. So let me just say that. But yeah, I just see this as a metaphor, but we'll just read it real quick, and you can, explain where you're coming from too. But because you did not serve the Lord your God with joyfulness and gladness of heart, because of the abundance of all things, therefore you shall serve your enemies, whom the Lord will send against you, in hunger and thirst, in nakedness and lacking everything, and he will put a yoke of iron on your neck until he has destroyed you. Do you want me to keep reading or no? Because I think
yes, you can, because verse. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we'll both see if we agree or not, because I think these next couple verses kind of tie into this, what God's describing in verse 48. And I read 47 because it obviously started the whole sentence. The Lord will bring a nation against you from far away, from the end of the earth, swooping down like the eagle, a nation whose language you do not understand, a hard-faced nation who shall not respect the old or show mercy to the young. And then it gets into it shall eat. So this is the same nation in verse 51.
Correct.
It shall eat the offspring of your cattle and the fruit of your ground until you are destroyed. It also shall not leave your grain, wine, or oil, the increase of your herds, or the young of your flock, until they have caused you to perish. So for me, when I see this yoke of iron in verse 48, if I keep reading and I include verse 48 down to 51, verse 51 is clear that it's talking about a nation that is invading Israel, the territory, because their grain is there, their wine is there, their oil is there, their herds are there. So how can we make that argument for American slavery if that's
because well, when this was given, this is the curse for Israel at all times. Yah doesn't change. Malachi 3:6. So whenever we go off, whenever we don't keep, or look at verse 15, whenever we don't follow the law, statutes, commandments, precepts, orders, and judgments, this is what waits us. Now, when you look at verse 47, well, yeah, 15, it says, well, go back, 15, it says,
I already knew what verse 15 was, but I just want to show people. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so when you look at 47, it says, because you did not serve the Lord your God with joyfulness and gladness of heart, because of the abundance of all things. That's literal. That's not figurative. That's not figurative.
I agree.
Because you don't go into captivity figuratively. So now when we look at the punishment, which is the yoke of iron and in want of all things, you may not be able to speak to it, but my people, anything we need, we have no systems or institutions of our own. I'm just talking about so-called African Americans. That's not all the children of Israel. We don't own the stores we patronize. We don't own the actual clothing matter of fact, we can name a handful of clothing options that we've created in the almost 400 plus years that we've been here. I can name them on one hand. And they all mostly started popping up in the 90s. Late 90s, like Carl Kanai, Sean John, things like that. But even then, they're getting the material and everything from who? Their enemies. Now, it says that in thirst, when I'm thirsty, when I go to the store, I don't go to a black-owned supermarket. We don't have any. Even the corner stores that are located in the impoverished portions of the city, known as the neighborhoods or the hoods, we don't own those or patronize those either. And that's in the curse as well, that the stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high, and you shall become very low, and he shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. He shall lend to thee, but you shall not lend to him. We don't own any black banks. This is all literal. This is not figurative. This is literal, because we look at verse 50, it says, a hard-faced nation who shall not respect the old or show mercy to the young. Well, when I put a yoke of iron on your neck, I'm deaf. And I got pictures of 2- and 3-year-olds picking cotton with chains on their neck. I have those pictures in my archive. No favor to the young or the old. And I got pictures of older 70, 80-year-old men. There's stories you can look at in the archives, and it'll show you how some slaves will work so hard their muscles detach from the bone.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Slavery was evil, but for me, I like I said, I just like if I were to read this sentence and say this isn't a metaphor, then I would say everything is exactly literal. Then I would have to say that yoke of iron on your neck until he has destroyed you. The destroyed you part would mean I would have to like be killing somebody by
No,
wrapping a
that's
metal
not.
thing around
No,
their neck.
that's not what destroyed means in this context. I'll give you a prime example.
Mhm.
We know for a fact. I'll give you an example.
Sure.
Are you familiar with Toussaint Louverture, Denmark, Vesey, the slave revolts in the Americas and the Caribbean, etc., Haiti? Are you familiar?
I'm no expert on those. I'm not going to say I am, man.
No, I'm just saying, are you familiar with them? I'm not saying it, I'm
Not
not.
much. Not. I mean, not much. You know way
Okay.
more about it. To be honest, I have no idea really the
Well,
specifics.
well, what I mean is not specific. I'm just saying, have you heard of it?
So, somewhat, not really.
Okay.
Just
That's
being
fine.
honest. Yeah, you know.
Okay. No, that's fine. I understand. So when you put just like a dog, to break a dog, you put the chain on. Once the dog is broken and destroyed, mentally, spiritually, culturally, the language we don't understand, that's not a figurative language, that's a literal language. We didn't speak English when we got here. And you look at the actual slave ship voyage analogs, which are in Congress, you'll see slaves with the name of the creator, Benaiah. These are slaves coming to the Americas with Hebrew names. That's in the National Archive the government has, .gov. You can Google those. That's the actual archives, the manifest, the shipping manifest, etc. But not just that. When you put when the slave has the yoke of iron on his neck, it's because he will revolt. It's because he will fight back. But once he's been broken, they even had a popular series that came out called Book Breaking. Once you break the spirit of a man or a woman, you can now take the yoke of iron off because they're destroyed. Prime example, if what happened to us as a people happened to your people here literally, you would not be calling yourself an African American if we just reverse the roles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not asking you to call yourself anything, honestly.
No, I'm not saying I'm not saying you are. I'm just giving you an example. I'm saying, let's give you a better example. We know Jewish people, correct?
Yeah.
Jewish people were burned, gas ovens, etc., by Hitler in Nazi Germany, correct?
Yeah.
They will never call themselves Nazis. They would never call themselves or pledge allegiance to the Nazi flag because those atrocities that were done to them, they remember those things. We were destroyed so much that we literally in 2018, 2017, were having sports athletes being attacked because of police brutality, and it being said we're not even bowing to the flag, taking a knee or covering our heart to the flag. Now check this out. When you look at that flag accosted us, but we know why, because of our disobedience. It's not personal. It's our disobedience. My forefathers went off, and guess what? That was the judgment for them. So I'm not blaming Caucasian people. I'm not blaming anyone but myself and my forefathers. I'm not a victim. I don't have a victim mentality. But what I'm saying is that no Jew would literally stand and salute a swastika flag if Germany had won the war. But today, even the second and third stanzas of the actual national anthem still talk about us being slaves.
All right, I got you, man. And I'm not trying to. I empathize with the evil that happened to black people, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful with side black.
Well, Israelite people. We're not black. That's a noun. That's an adjective that describes a noun.
Well, I don't want to. I'm not sure who the Israelites are today, so I don't want to also not be true to who I am. So whatever you want me to call who we're talking about here, the commonly known people, African American. But I'll go to like Leviticus 26:13 and show you like this is common theme, like a yoke, and then metaphors such as heavy, light. And here in Leviticus 26:13 it says, "And I have broken the bars of your yoke and made you walk erect." Were there literal bars on this yoke in Leviticus 26:13 when God did this, broke the bars of this yoke?
Yes, we were slaves in Egypt. Literal slaves, not figurative slaves. We were literal slaves in Egypt.
So there were bars. What bars were the Egyptian slavery using for the yoke? I mean, what bars? I mean,
Iron.
so this is also literal though.
Let me ask you a question. When you read the Bible, do you think the children of Israel went into a figurative captivity in Egypt or a literal captivity in Egypt?
It was literal. It was literal.
Okay, so yeah, same thing. It's literal. We were made at hard bondage. It said brick and mortar, hard bondage. That's what it said. And we so much so that we cried out. Well, you don't cry figuratively if nothing's happening to you literally.
Mhm.
So
I
yes, this is the same. Listen, because history repeats itself. When we do wrong, the punishment is 15 through 67 of Deuteronomy 28.
under God.
That never changes.
I should not be
All
used.
throughout history, I can show you from Cushing, the Mesopotamian king, all the way down. It never changes. In Babylon, we had yokes of iron. In the Bible, historically, we had yokes of. Matter of fact, you can type in the Hebrews Babylonian exile, and you'll see black people in stone with braids in their heads, with dreadlocks, with chains. It's literal. It's not figurative. It's not
Well,
figurative. I understand what you mean when you're saying a yoke can be figurative, but when it comes to captivity, it's not figurative. Is what I'm saying.
well,
Like,
it's saying in like the definition here, it can be either literal or figurative. I mean, in the biblical
well,
use.
yes, you mentioned Rehoboam, right?
Yeah, I was going to show like it says,
He
lighten the
didn't put,
yoke, make it
yeah, he
heavy.
didn't put
I mean,
literal chains on us.
yeah, I mean, he just oppressed the people. So, like, when it says heavy yoke, we're not going to read that and think, like, well, he put some heavy weight on them. Like, right here, when it says, your father made our yoke
Mhm.
heavy, lighten it for us. We're not going to think that has anything to do with,
But here's the difference. He didn't
yeah,
say he put on a heavy yoke of iron. See, the key to it is yoke, but yoke of iron and yoke is two different things.
I got,
So
I got you there. I can see
Mhm.
it. But my problem is, like I said, is when I read this verse 48, I see it describing a specific nation. And then from verses 49 to 51, I believe it's the same nation. You're saying this is a different nation that's going to impose verse
No,
48?
because we've okay. You ever read the book of Judges? The book of
Yes.
Judges is literally about us in captivity to like tons of nations.
Yes.
So these curses of Deuteronomy 28, they happen every time we go into captivity. We haven't been in just one captivity.
All right. That I agree with that. I'm glad we're at least acknowledging that, because for me, when I read the book of remembrance here, Old Testament, for people that are unfamiliar with what I'm referring to there, I think the Israelites fulfilled all these curses. I don't, like, when I say Israelites, I mean ancient Israelites. I think this all was fulfilled before the time of Christ.
Well, to prove that we didn't is very easy. You can buy a book by Joseph J. Williams called Hebrewisms of West Africa. And
Mhm.
you'll see the Ashan people, just like in the book of Judges, the Ashanti, Ashan prefix, people of the fire, Ashanti, T means people. And you'll see that those people in the book, I can show you the page. Let me show it to you real quick.
Sure.
You'll see these Ashanti people, literally, they're priests with the 12 stone breastplate. And I'll show you real quick. I'll show you so you
Yeah,
can see.
yeah. What curse in Deuteronomy 28:15 through 67 didn't get fulfilled by the ancient Israelites?
Hold on one second. I got you.
Sure,
Can you
sure.
see this?
I can see it.
As you can see so eloquently, you'll see two Caucasian men with four men and three behind him, so seven total of seven. But it says the Ashanti ambassadors crossing the Pra. And if you look at it, he has the bonnet on his head. Ezekiel, all priests must wear bonnet. He has the beard because all Israelite men, Leviticus 19:27, must wear beards. He has the 12 stone breastplate, three across, four deep. He's even barefoot because all the priests must be barefoot. And I don't know if you can see the little symbol here,
Mhm.
the little disc here. It's kind of
I,
here, but
I have no problem if those are Israelite people. I have no problem if somebody wants to say that's a remnant of Israel. That's fine, but that still doesn't tell me what curse they didn't fulfill. Like in the
what do you
ancient,
mean?
well, you're saying. I mean, you did say that all the curses have happened and they happened again. So will you agree that all the curses did happen from Deuteronomy 28:15 to 67 did happen also to the ancient Israelites?
Yes, because nothing changed.
Okay.
Yah doesn't change.
All right. All right. All right, we
So
agree on
okay,
that.
let me make it clear for the people. When we went into Egypt, we had yokes of iron. Our women were taken from us. We even read that in the book. Now, one of the curses of Deuteronomy 28 is that they would take our wives from us and we would have no might in our hand. Well, what was one of the things Pharaoh said? How about we kill all the male boys, keep the girls for ourselves? It's the same thing. And guess what? It happened here in slavery in America. It happened in Babylon. When you look at Daniel, with his slave name Belteshazzar, just like we have slave names here in captivity, our
Mhm.
names were changed. They intentionally changed our name. They took our culture from us, just like they did in Babylon. Daniel name, Daniel became Belteshazzar, right? Shadrach, Hananiah became Shadrach, right?
Yeah.
Meshach,
Babylon, the three guys that went into the furnace. Yep.
well, not just them, Zerubbabel in the Babylonian captivity. His name was Sheshbazzar.
Hmm.
So it's the same thing. Every captivity gives you all these curses. It's not just a one-time thing.
All right. How long from like the ancient times? So like the time to me, like I said, I don't think any of these curses happened after Christ. Were they happening continually, like 100 BC,
Okay.
100 AD, 200 AD, 300 AD? Like, or did it go from a gap and they didn't happen for 1500 years until the transatlantic slave trade? Because
No,
that's
you
the question I usually have for people is like, when else was this happening? These curses happening after Christ?
it happened all throughout time. Matter of fact, when you go back and look at what people call the Christian Inquisition, when Christians were being killed, they were not Caucasian people. Look at the history. Go look at the actual history. You'll see these were dark-skinned black people. These were Israelites in Rome being fed to lions. This was actual history. It never stopped.
Yeah, but if
The-
they identify as Christians, how is that
no, no, no,
fulfilled?
no. I said today, people remember the word Christian is not even the word Christian itself is not even 400 years old. It's not even 400 years old.
It's in the Bible.
Yes, but it's in a transliteration of the Bible. The Greek word is not Christian, it's Christos. So, and nobody back then called themselves Christians. It said they were called Christians first at Antioch. They were called Christians by people that weren't them. That's what it says in the book of Acts, doesn't it?
Yeah, but they're also, being called Christos or whatever in Greek, but now it's been referred to as Christian, but it did
But
originate
that's
in the
mhm.
Bible. And I mean, all the words are different, obviously. Like I'm sure you're not going to argue that the words haven't changed when we say them in English. Obviously, you're making a point to pronounce every word like Deuteronomy and everything in its ancient form. So I mean, we all agree the words have like changed, and it's not like it dismisses the validity. If somebody calls the book of Deuteronomy, it doesn't dismiss the validity of what Deuteronomy was and when it actually started, right?
No, no, it doesn't. But what it does is it takes people from, like, prime example, there
Mhm.
is no man in the first century named Paul.
Yeah, I got you. I mean, the letter J wasn't invented. I got you till
But
700.
hold on, listen, hold on, listen what I'm saying. That's very, very important because even amongst people that are Caucasian or pale faced people today,
Mhm.
O'Shea, O'Shea is not a Caucasian name. It's
Yeah,
an
no,
Afro-Asiatic, it's an Afro-Asiatic language. So therefore, these people are Afro-Asiatic. Afro meaning dark skinned,
I
Asiatic.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
no problem with the Israelites being black people. I think Jesus Christ, I mean, I don't think I know Jesus Christ was black because he saved me in the flesh. So I know that. But I also don't think that just because the Israelites are black, that would mean that everybody that's black today has Israelite heritage, just as
No,
the
that's not.
Egyptians were black, the Cushites were black, other people in Africa were black, right?
Yes,
So,
but the Creator told us in Deuteronomy 28 that when all of the curses fall on a certain people, that's how you identify them. See, what you're doing is you're looking at particular verses, right?
yeah,
So what I want to show you is go up to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 45 and 46, just
sure,
two verses up,
sure.
and you'll see that remember, this is the Most High talking to Moses.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yes,
this is the
like,
Most High. He
yeah,
says,
yeah, all these curses shall come upon you and pursue you and overtake you till you are destroyed, because you did not
correct.
obey the voice of the Lord your God to keep his commandments and his statutes that he commanded you. They shall be a sign and a wonder against you and your offspring forever.
Hold on, stop. So this is
Mhm.
literally against what? You and your offspring. It's a sign.
What's a
Not some of
sign?
the curses,
What's a sign?
all of them.
What's a sign forever?
It's a sign is an identifying marker. So how do we know a person is an Israelite? Deuteronomy 15 through
Mhm.
28, 15 through 67 has to be able to be manifested in their life. If it's not, you can't take one and say, okay, well, this happened to me. No, it said, these shall be a sign, and they shall be a sign upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord your God with joyfulness and with the gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. And then we get into the yoke of iron. That's all literal.
Yeah, but
So these are signs. It's not figurative.
you don't think that a sign and a wonder against your offspring forever could mean that this is something that you'll talk about for generations? So it's something that occurred and that they'll tell each other. For instance, like the Israelites going through the Red Sea, wouldn't that qualify as being a sign and a wonder forever?
No, because this is talking about the curses in Deuteronomy 28. It's not talking about crossing the Red Sea.
Well, a sign and a wonder forever, like what God did for the Israelites in the
Mhm.
Exodus, all the signs that He did in Egypt, all the things that He did for them in the land of Canaan. Them, destroying Jericho with the
Mhm.
trumpets or the ram's horn, whatever we want to call it, to get in
The
that
shofar.
technicality, area, or all the things that God did for the Israelites. I consider those like them crossing the Jordan River by the
Mhm.
ark of the priest standing there with the ark of the covenant. To me, that's a sign and a wonder
Uh,
forever.
But notice what you just said. To you, you're not the creator.
Uh,
Hadabarim 28. This
uh,
is this is the creator talking. He's telling us how we'll be identified with the curses. He's not talking about crossing the River Jordan out of captivity.
so that's what I'm saying. I don't read this verse as because
I
like
know.
when the Israelites eat their children, God says He's going to do that once. Like in Ezekiel,
No,
yes, He does. In
he didn't.
Ezekiel 5:7, 5:8, we'll go there. He says, I'm going to do something that I'm never going to do again. He says they're going
Mhm.
to eat their children, and then the fathers will eat their children, or the sons, and the sons shall eat the fathers. We'll go here because
But
God
that's
does
but
say He's going to only do that once.
no, but listen, but okay, listen, you got to stop. Deuteronomy the 28th chapter
Right
starts
here.
off the first 14 books with the blessings.
Mhm.
15 through 67 is the curses. That's not listed in Deuteronomy 28. You're trying to superimpose things at different time frames from other books.
Eating the children is 100% listed in Deuteronomy. It's right after the verses we're reading. It's around curses 55. It's also in Leviticus. It's
Okay, go to
100%.
55.
We will. I mean, I don't verbatim quote me on 55, but we'll go and I'll show you that eating children is a curse in Deuteronomy 28:15 through 67. And what I'm trying to demonstrate here is in Ezekiel 5:9, it says, and because of all your abominations, I will do with you what I have never yet done, and the like of which I will never do again. So that for me says that, well, you're saying these curses have to happen forever to our children, to every generation, doesn't line up with what the creator says, because the creator is saying, at least for these curses, that he's never going to do them again. And then the curses, what I would consider to be a sign and a byword forever, which is people eating their children because they were sacrificing their children to Canaanite evil deities. God had to make a point. So what he did is he made the Israelites eat their own children so they would talk about it forever and they would remember, well, wait a minute, we shouldn't be sacrificing our children, because think about how horrible it was when God showed us what the act really entailed about killing your own kids. So therefore, fathers shall eat their sons in your midst, and sons shall eat their fathers, and I will execute judgments on you. And any of you who survive, I will scatter to all the winds. So are we going to agree that God prefaced in verse 9 here saying he's not going to ever make the Israelites eat their children again?
Well, you have to go back up from the top. See,
Where
what
do you
you're
want
doing is go
where do
back
you
up
want
from the
me to
top,
go? Where do you want me to go?
start at the very top of the chapter.
Sure. Okay.
It
Tell me.
says Jerusalem will be destroyed. See, this is the siege.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is hold on for a second, because this wouldn't happen here in America because this is the siege of Jerusalem. We're not in Jerusalem.
I know, but I also read in verse. So you think he was only talking about eating children in Jerusalem? He
Yes,
wasn't.
that's the siege. If you read, if we're going to read it, you'll see that's the siege. What is the chapter title show on your screen?
It says Jerusalem will be destroyed, but can't he discuss more than one thing within a chapter?
That's why I took you to the top, right? Let me read it. It
Yeah.
says, "And you, O son of man, take a sharp sword, use it as a barber's razor, and pass it over your head and your beard. Then take the balance for weighing and divide the hair." Verse 2, "A third part you shall burn in the fire in the midst of the city." What city?
Jerusalem. Listen, I'm not
Yeah.
clear on the fact that this is the siege of Jerusalem. I'm not unclear on that.
Okay,
But,
so you just said, hold on,
where has
hold
God
on.
ever made the who you call the Israelite people eat their children again? Where has that ever happened in history?
That's what you're trying to. Listen, what I'm saying.
I'm just
I
reading.
told you to go to the top
Oh,
because this is the siege of Jerusalem.
yes.
So this eating of the children here is in Jerusalem.
Yes.
That's it. It's simple.
I agree that where they're eating their children is they're not in China. I agree.
Correct.
I'm just saying he's also
But
saying in verse 9 he's gonna do something, and he did. We all can agree on God's nature. He didn't want to do this. This was like the last resort because they kept sacrificing their children to evil idols. So God had to make a
Mhm.
point, and he had to also, honor what he promised in his curses that if they did do these things, he would also do, certain
Okay,
things.
that's what I'm saying. This is the proof. Remember, when you look at the siege here, the siege at this time, we went into captivity again after that. We went into Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
See, the siege is where the eating of the children took place. It didn't take place in the land in the captivity. Because remember, when you go to 48, it says the nation from far shall come get you in 49. Doesn't it say that?
Yeah, I mean that's my whole point. Is these nations are invading the Israelites. So for me,
Yes,
this
but not one time.
uh,
Hold on, stop. Listen,
yeah,
listen. We went into Egypt, right?
yeah,
That's a captivity, right?
yep.
When this took place right here, this siege, do you know what time frame this was and who was the governor? Who was the king?
It's like it's 600 BC ish, 650 to 600 to 650 BC. So, you'd have to tell me exactly who you're thinking of, which king was
Well,
in
well,
charge,
in six oh
governor was in charge.
well, well, in 606, we went into the Babylonian captivity. That's when Daniel went into Babylonian captivity.
So who was the governor at that time? I don't know why that would matter. Who the
Well, the
Israel?
reason, no, I'm showing you because you can see the rest of these curses actually happening, but they're happening before and after. It's not just a one-time deal.
The only curse that I
It's the
specifically
eating.
have
It's the
seen
eating.
is a one-time deal is the eating of the children. God's
Correct.
making a point to say that he's not going to ever do that again. So for
Correct. That's
me,
what I'm saying. Correct. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the same thing, but I'm telling you that it didn't happen here because that's not here. It's not Jerusalem.
yeah, I mean, he even specifies in the siege and in the distress with which
Yeah, you siege a city.
you.
We don't have any city. We don't own any cities here in America or
Well,
around the world.
that's what I'm saying. How can America fit the verses that you're saying is the yoke of iron if the nation that's doing the yoke of iron is also invading and eating?
No, 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 no. When you go to hold on, stop. It
Sure.
said these things are for signs and wonders upon your seed forever, meaning throughout time, not just one time.
So, all right. They can happen multiple times. I can agree on
Of
that.
course, they always do. Yeah.
I don't read verse 48 or sorry, whatever verse that was, 47.
Let me ask you a question.
I
If
don't
you
read
go up to verse,
Yeah, go ahead.
if you go up to verse, if you go up to verse, um, let's just do it this way, and I'll show you.
Sure. We read this verse 46 very differently though. I don't read
Oh,
this as God saying he's going to curse Israelite people forever because then that would mean he's not going to at
no,
any
he said they
point.
will be signs and wonders forever, not cursed forever.
Okay,
You're adding to the text.
so how can a Messiah come and they still be getting cursed forever? How can that be
No,
possible?
hold on, stop. That verse doesn't say curse forever. It says they shall be for signs and wonders
I
upon us
agree.
and our children forever. We'll remember this.
I agree. That's the way I interpret it, that these things don't have to happen forever. They'll be talked about forever as signs and wonders. Like I was saying, when you go through the Red Sea, sign and wonder forever. When they
Okay,
cross the
hold on,
Jordan, sign and wonder
brother.
forever. When you
Okay,
eat
listen.
sign
But
and wonder forever. I
okay,
agree.
listen.
Now
When
you
you
said,
talk about
you know,
when you talk about the Red Sea, that's not
mhm.
Deuteronomy 28. That already happened. That happened before this.
I
Before
understand.
Moses.
I understand that. I'm just giving you an example of what I consider a sign and a wonder, man. I can give you examples of signs and wonders
Yes,
after if you
yes,
like.
but hold on. Listen.
Okay.
But in this chapter, Deuteronomy 28, the Creator is telling us what the signs and wonders are, not you.
Okay. So, what are the signs and wonders according to the Creator?
15 through 67. And
Okay.
nothing in there talks about crossing the Red Sea in 15 through 67 or walking around Jericho 15 through 67. Those are signs and wonders, but he's naming the signs and wonders here.
Okay. But we did
Particular.
disagree that these signs and wonders, they can't happen forever, because then God, when he sent his Messiah, wouldn't be honoring the fact that he sent a Messiah, and the Israelite people would be ruling the world and blessed, right?
Correct. That's why we would. It didn't. Hold on. Stop. Go back to the verse. It didn't say we'll be cursed forever. It said these will be signs and wonder upon us and our seeds forever. Not cursed. That we would. We signs are what? Things you to implicate what is what. And wonder is like, man, that really happened to us. We were really
Yes,
wicked. Yeah. When you
exactly.
go back, 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 46, when we
Sure.
bethink ourselves and face the temple, face Jerusalem, face the Holy Land,
Mhm.
and then we tell Yah we're sorry and turn back to Yah, then he said, I will make your enemies have mercy and compassion on you. Of course, we're not talking about us being cursed forever. That text doesn't even say that. You're saying that, not the text.
Well, if you're saying that these have to happen forever, like you're saying all these other
No,
curses,
I didn't. No, I did not say they have to happen. Okay, listen.
well,
There's
not
signs and wonders
okay, well,
forever. Meaning,
exactly. There's things that happen that they'll talk about that happen in the
yeah,
past.
talk about. Doesn't mean
Yes.
it's yeah, it doesn't mean I got to yoke around in the kingdom.
Well, that is my point. Is that we can't just say that because it says sign and wonder forever. That's implying that these Deuteronomy 28:15 through 67 curses will happen forever.
No, I didn't. No, you're saying that. I never said
I
that.
never said that. I would
I
never say that. That's
I
not my.
listen. I'm a Israelite. I'm
Uh,
waiting on the Mashiach. I'm definitely not saying that. If you listen back to this recording, you brought that up. I never brought up a sign and wonder forever. We're being cursed forever. I never said that. You said that.
no, I didn't. I would never. I would never argue that the
When
Deuteronomy. I told you clearly that I think these all were over with by the time Jesus came. So how would I be implying
okay,
that?
so hold on. Let me ask you a question. Okay, hold on. Well, we're not going to make any headway on that. So let's just do it this way.
Yeah.
Where was Jesus when we were on slave ships?
Jesus had already fulfilled what he was supposed to do. Are you saying that God didn't exist when the Israelites, ancient Israelites, were in Babylonian captivity too?
How did you get that from me saying that? I never said
Well,
that.
you're acting like Jesus didn't do anything when black people were in slavery, so that means Jesus doesn't exist. But the same
If
logic would apply for the Father when the Israelites were in slavery.
no, the Father put us. No, in Babylon, the Father put us there.
So how do you know the Father didn't put you in American slavery if you're going to
He
use
did.
this?
Listen, he did. That's what I'm saying. He did. I asked you about Jesus, though. He's not the Father.
Yeah, but that's my point. Well, I think he's the Son of God, so I think he's one with the Father. But that's totally different, separate
Okay,
issue. But
and that leads me to this point. Exodus 4:22. Can you pull that real quick and exegete that for me?
sure, we'll go there.
Is Jesus the only begotten Son of God?
That's Israel is God's firstborn son. But
So how is Jesus the only begotten Son? John 3:16.
um, I'm not the creator, so I don't know what type of language I would have to use to describe what son is referring to here. I mean, are you saying that Abraham wasn't or Noah, Adam wasn't God's son too? Are you saying that? Because Adam was God's son, wasn't he?
No, it says firstborn. You're focusing on the word son. I said firstborn and only. The word only begotten only means one.
Where's it say
Okay.
only? Are you talking about
John
the whole?
3:16.
Okay.
John
Yeah, but
3:16.
only
For God so
begotten part
huh?
is the begotten part is what I would say refers to the only aspect of that.
Correct. But how can he be the only begotten son if Israel is the firstborn son? Israel is older than Jesus.
Yeah, I know he is. No, he isn't. Jesus created the Israelites. What do you mean?
But no chapter and verse says that. There's no chapter and verse that says Jesus created the Israelites.
Does, but I'm trying to stay out of the New Testament because I know you're not subscribing to it, so I don't want to go to the New Testament.
Okay, but listen what I'm saying. What does the word only mean?
Only would mean one thing, but that is kind of a hard way to just break down what God's saying, because like
God is not talking in John 3:16.
God, we got to be careful limiting what God is capable of saying. Like when he's describing Israel as his firstborn son here, he's talking about more than one person, right?
He's talking about the nation of Israel.
That's what I'm saying. So how can I like read this and say, well, if I wanted to be real specific, son is singular, right? So I could say son is singular, right? So I could go through these arguments and say, well,
no, listen, hold on.
That are men and women be only a son. No, I can go through and play these type.
No. You could, but that wouldn't work because the subject. No, it wouldn't. Listen, the subject matter is Israel. Exodus 4:22. It says Israel is. That's possessive. Is my firstborn son.
So, but there were women in Israel, right?
Okay. Again, that's what Israel means. Israel is a nation of people, male and female, women and children, and men. Yeah.
So if I wanted to like be really harsh on like what linguistics means, like you're trying to like be strict on only meaning of only, I could say, well, son is referring to men only. But it's
not, because Israel is not just men.
Well, that's my point.
No, hold on, brother. Hold on, stop. Yeah. You're confused. You're being confused. Listen, that's not your point because you didn't pull the verse. I pulled the verse. That's not your point.
It's even though you pulled the verse, I can still have a point on the verse, can't I?
But what I'm saying is, who is the focus of Exodus 4:22?
It's Israel.
Okay, and in Exodus 4:22, who is Israel?
Well, wait, say it again. Who is Israel? It's the slaves in captivity. The slaves in captivity in Egypt.
Men and women and children, correct?
Yeah, descendants of Jacob.
Yes, because Jacob is dead at this time. So it's not talking about Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. It's talking about his sons and daughters and his children, his offspring.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We could also be like, if we're going to be real technical on things, we could say, well, Jacob is God's firstborn son if you read it as a certain way here too. You know what I mean?
No, it said no, you can't. No, you can't, because when you read it in the verse, it said.
Yeah, I understand. I can agree with you in this context that it's not referring to Jacob. It's very clear. You know what I mean? Okay. I understand that. But what I'm saying is we can't limit, like when God says or scripture says like a certain word, we can't just jump, to a conclusion and say, well, this dismisses other things, because there's other aspects of it that, are more nuanced, is what I'm saying. That's all.
Okay. So you're a Christian, right?
Yes.
So you believe in the duality of things, like Jesse tried to explain it to me. So let me ask you a question. Israel is the nation of Israel, were we created by sex from the creator?
Lou, hold on, Lou, you got to mute your background noise or whatever. All right. Yeah. But and Rabbi Lewis can jump in, and we could move past the yoke thing if we will agree to disagree, or we can stay on it. It's whatever you want.
I moved past the yoke. That's why I was dealing with the firstborn son.
Yeah, because I do want to get to the topic of the things we were trying to get into at some point. But what was your question? I didn't hear you because Lou had the background noise on.
In Exodus 4:22, when it says we're his firstborn son, the creator, he is Yah, the creator. Yah, righteousness. Sure. Did he have sex with Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah?
No, he did not. The creator did not have sex with anybody.
Okay, hold on. So when it says he's our father, is that literal or figurative?
I would take it as figurative, but it's also, I mean that's nuanced for me, because I would say God made all of us. So
no, hold on. But the verse doesn't talk about all of us. Let's stick to the context. Yeah,
I mean, it's hard for me to say that the Father didn't create me, is what I'm trying to say.
No, I'm not saying he did. I'm saying firstborn, meaning we're his firstborn son. Because hold on, let's stop. To be a firstborn, you have to have a second. You can't have a first without a second. That's by
Hold on, hold
implication.
on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. When you're talking about firstborn in ancient time, that's talking about the person who's going to inherit your belongings when you die.
Yes, that's Israel.
Because okay, when you say that, when you bring up that verse when God sent Moses to the Pharaoh and say Israel is my firstborn, what was the Pharaoh understanding of Moses saying Israel is God's firstborn? What was the
That
understanding of the Pharaoh?
that the creator, well, Moshe was explaining to him that the creator of the heavens and the universe, not Amun Ra, not Amenhotep, not Amun
Yeah,
Ra, not Geb,
yeah,
Nut, not any of those Egyptian deities, that the true
yeah.
creator of heaven and earth was saying, let my sons go.
But Moses came to the Pharaoh with a singular phrase. Israel is my firstborn. It doesn't say nothing about let my firstborn sons go. It say Israel is my firstborn.
No, it says
How would
Israel
the
is my son.
Pharaoh understood that?
It says Israel is my son in the same verse. You're only quoting the part of the verse.
Yeah,
Go back to
it says Israel is my son, but what I'm
ah.
asking you, is, do we know the Pharaoh replied to Moses, but what did that mean to the Pharaoh when Moses was telling the Pharaoh that?
Well, what it means to the Pharaoh is irrelevant because the Pharaoh is being told by Moshe what the Creator is telling him to say. How he takes it is it doesn't matter.
Okay, how is it irrelevant if the Pharaoh replying back to Moses? Because
Because
what
remember,
your definition is saying, is basically Israel is God firstborn. I mean, in a figurative sense, but is that
correct.
figurative sense is the same sense that the Pharaoh understood what Moses was telling him?
Well, remember what the Most High said. He said, "I will harden Pharaoh's heart." So Pharaoh was never going to acknowledge it anyway. Correct.
Yeah, it don't matter. Yeah, the Pharaoh wouldn't acknowledge it anyway. But the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, when Moses came to the Pharaoh
Mm-hmm.
and said that to the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh replied back to Moses, what did it mean to the Pharaoh when Moses was telling him that? He had to have some type of understanding of that.
You just have to read the verse, brother.
Okay, and here's the thing. Moses coming to him with a God the Pharaoh don't even know. So I mean,
Okay, that's
how
irrelevant.
is it irrelevant because you're making it mean something that it don't mean in the ancient context?
So what does it mean in the ancient context?
In the ancient context, when it's okay, I'm gonna give you a perfect example.
Like no,
Passover,
hold on, brother, hold on, stop.
In verse 23, I'll answer.
No, hold on, no, Ryan, hold on, Ryan.
Not an
Ryan,
example.
hold on.
Give me the context of the verse.
I'm gonna give you the context. I'm gonna give
Of
you the
the verse.
context, and then I'm gonna give you the context of the verse, and I'm gonna give you the explanation. The context of the verse is when Moses came to the Pharaoh and say, the God of the Hebrews, saying, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not quoting, I'm paraphrasing, saying the God of the Hebrews saying, let go of his Israel is my firstborn son, let him go. You know what I mean? In that context, what the firstborn meant in that context, that's talking about Israel being God inheritance, not God actual firstborn son. Because if you're going to use that firstborn in that context, then what does the firstborn mean in the Passover context when God said he's going to kill all the firstborn in Egypt?
Yeah, because they're not his firstborn. They're the firstborn of the Egyptians. That's simple.
Wow. You're not understanding. You're not understanding. Look,
that's simple.
Lou, you make
hold on.
The firstborn of the Passovers was to be killed, right?
Egyptians.
So when God said he's going to kill all the firstborn of the Egyptians, is he talking about the literal firstborn, the firstborn child, or does it mean something else?
There he's talking about the actual child.
The actual child. Okay,
no,
now here's where you run into some problems.
No, I don't run into any problems because it's hold on. It's all based on
problems.
It doesn't. It's all based on context.
A a firstborn in the ancient Near context is not talking about a child. It's talking about your firstborn. You could be 80
Firstborn
years old
son.
and
That's what I
considered
just said.
a firstborn.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, and the firstborn is the one who received the inheritance of the father.
Okay, stop. So before Israel, who was the firstborn before Israel?
Who was the firstborn of
Yeah,
Israel in that
yeah,
context? As a,
yeah.
I mean, as a nation, there was no God didn't have no nation under his
Thank you.
inheritance.
Thank you. So again, you went all around the world for no reason.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't, because you brought up Jesus, right? You
Yeah,
said how can Jesus be God, first begotten son in Israel in the Old Testament is being called God firstborn son.
correct. Because hold on,
Okay,
stop.
in the context,
Hold on. I got you.
yeah,
I got you. I got you.
yeah.
So listen, dealing with Jesus and Christians, they teach that Jesus was the lamb slain before the foundations of the earth. He was there in the beginning, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
figuratively, he would have been the firstborn, correct?
There
Yeah.
ain't no whoa. Nah,
Not literally.
I ain't gonna say you broad I'm not gonna say you broad brushing, but you're misrepresenting the context.
I'm not.
You
I'm
can't
not.
say Jesus was the firstborn. Jesus has no beginning or ending, so there's no was.
No, that's what, if you believe in that story, you believe that.
No, you saying that he was the first. Ain't no was. There's no beginning, there's no ending in that context of Jesus. So there
Okay,
wasn't no
so then hold on,
was.
stop. But everything else was created, right?
Say that again.
Everything else besides Jesus, according to your narrative, was
Yeah.
created, correct? The angels were created. They're not from the beginning.
Yeah, they're not from the beginning. Nah, they were
Okay,
created.
okay. So then that means he would be the figurative firstborn.
Yeah, but in
The
Isaiah,
figurative, the
God calls
figurative.
himself the Alpha and Omega too.
You say what now?
In Isaiah, God the Father, if you want to just believe in just the Father, calls himself the Alpha and the Omega, though we agree on
Yeah, that
that.
just means beginning and end, brother. That means beginning and end. That's all Alpha and Omega means.
What do you mean? What do you mean with him being the firstborn figuratively? As in what?
Okay, well, literally, let me explain like this here. The story is not real to me at all. Okay, so
Yeah, I understand that. I
okay,
understand that.
so figuratively, I say it because he's not even real to me at all, and you can't show me him in the Old Testament. You can use exegesis, but you won't find his name or anything like that. I can show you Cyrus mentioned 200 years before Cyrus was born, but you can't show me Jesus mentioned in the Old Testament at all.
Okay,
I got
okay,
a
that's
bunch
cool.
By name,
My
by name.
yeah, okay, that's cool. Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
So
But
that's what I
when
mean.
I'm asking you, what do you mean about Jesus being figuratively the firstborn? What do you mean by that?
Because what I'm saying is to be firstborn from, and remember, this is anthropomorphism. That would mean the creator would have to have sex with another entity and produce it to be born. And JC would have been the firstborn. But you said he had no beginning, no ending. He's from the beginning. So again, and everything after him was created. The angels, etc., were all created. Creation was created. The atoms, the molecules, etc., was all created. So then that means it's figurative. Because unless
Okay,
you're telling me now, hold on, listen. Unless you're telling me now that Jesus' mama had sex with God and produced him to make him a firstborn, literally.
okay. Here's the misunderstanding you having of the Jesus situation. Firstborn is not a literal. It's not a literal statement. It's basically a title. We have
Okay.
in the New Testament, he's the firstborn from the dead, and we
Mm-hmm.
have he's the firstborn of God. And then you got Israel being called the firstborn of God. You got King
No. Jesus
David
is
being
not called
called
the
the
firstborn.
firstborn.
No,
Jesus,
Jesus is not.
the only
Jesus is not
he
called the
is
firstborn.
he is called the first. I mean, yeah, you're right. He's called the firstborn of the dead, and I mean, and he's called the only begotten son of the Father. I mean, that's considered a firstborn. You know,
Well,
but
brother,
and then
when you say the firstborn of the dead, brother, you're already saying
yeah.
things existed before him.
Nah. That's what I'm telling you is the firstborn is a title. It's not supposed to be taken literal. It's a title.
Well,
It don't
okay,
mean the
so stop.
actual firstborn.
So how did Jesus get this title? So now firstborn doesn't mean first.
It's a title. It's not.
Yes,
It's
the
not.
inheritance. Look, hold on. Listen. In the Levant, the inheritance went to who? The eldest son, correct?
Yeah, the
The-
inheritance went to the oldest son.
yes, the oldest son. So if Jesus
And
is the firstborn, and hold on, stop.
who
And that oldest son is called what?
the
Firstborn.
oldest son? Okay, okay.
Yeah, but
Are
Ishmael
you?
is
Are you?
Abraham's
Hold
first.
on.
I mean,
Hold
this
on. Hold
isn't
on. Right.
anything to do with Jesus, but
Are
yeah.
are are you going to stick with that?
I've been saying the same thing all day. You've conceded
I
on
mean,
one point already.
I just want to make sure. Are you going to stick with that statement you just made?
I don't believe in it at all. I'm attacking your point.
No, no. I'm saying, are you going to stick with the Levant stuff with the firstborn is the first child? Are you going to stick with that?
And that's what you said from the beginning when you came on.
I didn't say that. I didn't say
Well,
that.
you didn't say Levant, but you said in the
I
east. You said in
said,
the
I said the firstborn is considered the one who's going to receive the inheritance. That's what
and
I said.
who receives that? Okay, let's stop. Let's just deal with the biblical narrative. Who receives or who's destined to receive the actual inheritance? The firstborn, right?
Okay. Okay. Now,
Now,
now we could dialogue on this because when you say that, now here's what we got. Now here's what the explanation come in. The
don't
firstborn
go
is
to
going to
Esau.
read the firstborn is the one who received the inheritance, right? They're the
No,
one who received the
no,
inheritance. The
no,
firstborn is considered
no.
the one.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Don't
Go
go to
ahead.
listen. Because listen, when we go, who was the firstborn out of Jacob and Esau?
Esau.
But Jacob is never called the firstborn.
Who
He's
was
called
called
the
the firstborn?
youngest. Jacob is never called the firstborn.
It's called the
And
little one.
who was called the firstborn?
Esau.
What verse say Esau is called the
It says
firstborn
the
based
eldest.
on
They were. Hold on,
inheritance?
stop, brother. Hold on, stop. Listen. It said they were twins, and it says he was the eldest.
So you using eldest as the one as the title of firstborn.
Brother, if you got two babies coming out of vagina, they both can't come out at the same time.
Okay. Okay. Here's where we not meeting together. You're considering Esau the firstborn because he's considered the elder. I'm
No,
telling you,
because he
firstborn
opened the
does
womb
not.
first.
Okay. I'm telling you that firstborn in the ancient Near East context mean the one who's getting the inheritance.
Okay, stop. So show me a person in the Bible that's called firstborn that wasn't the firstborn. That'll end all of this.
There's no. You're not replying back to what I'm telling you.
No, I know. Listen, you're going into whole other cultures. I'm just telling you in the context of the Bible.
Yeah,
The Bible is written in. The Bible is written in the ancient Near East, bro. How am I going?
But you're dealing with because you're bringing up other nations in tangent with them. I'm just dealing with the actual children of Israel.
The understanding of the Bible comes from ancient Near East. If
Show
people
me,
didn't study the ancient Near East, you wouldn't know nothing about the Bible.
What I'm saying to you is, show me a person in the Bible, any person that is a firstborn but wasn't born first. Thank you.
It's none. Is that okay? You feel better?
No, that's game set match.
I mean, you look. Yeah, that's what you're looking for.
No, I'm looking for truth. I didn't. Hold on, brother. I don't even know who you are. You didn't introduce yourself to me.
I know. Oh, I'm Lou, and I'm a Christian.
Okay, got brother Lou. My name is Ezekiel.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just letting him on because Jesse was supposed to be on earlier, and I said to you guys before if I had one more Christian. David, he's a Jew, so you guys are more similar than different, probably. But I'm sure you have your differences too, because he's not.
Well, brother Lou, I don't want to. I'm sorry, Jesse, but brother Lou, my name is Ezekiel Ben Israel. Nice to meet you, brother Lou.
Hey, nice to meet you too, man.
Okay. Because just all of a sudden, somebody was talking to me, and I'm like, who is? I don't even know. So I'm dealing with the context of the biblical narrative, which you like you said, there's nobody in the Bible that is called firstborn that wasn't born first.
But does that change the meaning of the firstborn in the ancient Near East?
In the Hebraic custom text, it does. Yes. Because this book isn't hold on, listen, I'll tell you. Because this book isn't the Moabites book or the Ammonites or the Jebusites or anybody else from the Levant. This is the children of Israel constitution.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not nobody else's book.
So when you say that, right?
Yes, sir.
before Abraham, before Abraham, before Israel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before Israel was considered a nation, right?
Correct.
The meaning of firstborn in that context in Egypt, what did the firstborn mean in that context?
The context means the firstborn.
There
Hold on,
wasn't no
stop.
Bible that time.
No, I didn't say Bible. I said context.
Yeah, I know, but you can't use the Bible context because there wasn't no Bible that time.
No, you can just go to etymology.com, brother. We can go there real quick. Let's go there real quick. And let's get the firstborn.
Let's learn something new.
Sure.
Well,
Let's see what firstborn mean in an ancient Near context.
What am I typing in? Where are we going?
Firstborn in ancient Near East context.
I know, but
well, you're not going to find it like that because that's too broad. You're going to have to go to etymology.com. So go to firstborn etymology. Because etymology is the origin of words.
Hold on. First off, I'm going to go to etymology.com.
Yes.
Okay. Let's just
Or etymoline.com. Either way. Either way.
Right,
and then just type in firstborn.
All right, we'll just go step by step. Etymology.com. I mean, we all can kind of agree the firstborn is a figurative term. Sometimes it's literal, sometimes it's figurative. I mean, Abraham's firstborn was Ishmael, but he obviously didn't have the blessing. You know what I mean? So it's
he didn't get the blessing because the Creator said he couldn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, and Joseph's firstborn was
was Manasseh.
Yeah,
but Ephraim got it because that was all prophetic. Genesis 49.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But then that changed when the law of Moses came about.
Hold on,
no, brother. That nothing's changed. Right. Firstborn means firstborn. That's all it means. He finna look it up now.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. We'll just type it in.
Yeah,
but it's hard because it's going to be in a certain context too. So firstborn and what? What am I supposed to add to this?
Just type in firstborn.
All right, but that's going to be so broad because it's going to tell us.
No, it won't be broad.
All right.
No results fine for firstborn.
Yeah, I don't know.
You have to separate it. It's not a compound word. You have to separate it.
First in order of birth as a noun, firstborn child. I mean, but that's mid 14th century we're talking.
So you got to show me one that means something else.
Now go to that verse. Go to the Bible. Go to the Bible.
What verse are we going to?
Blue letter Bible. That verse is the firstborn.
Yeah, because
we're gonna see what it means. Click on that.
Because God's saying he's going to kill the Egyptian Pharaoh's firstborn son too. You're saying that's only one son of the Pharaohs?
No, it says, I will kill the firstborn sons of the Egyptians. It didn't say just one son. The Egyptians, plural. Egyptians, plural. The Egyptian, hold on, stop. During the time of this time frame of Exodus, I think we all know that the original Egyptian or Normer was dead already. So it couldn't be the firstborn child of the first man. It's not talking about that. That's just basic context.
Well, I think that's what Lou's trying to argue is the firstborn son is figurative, and it's not just like in this context, not just talking about Pharaoh's first son that he had.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it's talking about the firstborn son that came out the vagina of every woman in Egypt. That's what I'm saying, and that's what happened.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Look it up. We'll see what it means.
Well, we got to move forward at some point. I mean, honestly, we could agree to disagree at some point too. I mean, what was the point of you bringing this verse? Does this verse alone disprove Jesus to you? Because
no, not alone, but again, listen, I can give you. No, not alone. Of course, that's.
No, I know. I got you. I'm just saying.
I'm very studious.
Yeah,
so it's tons of different things. It was just a question. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want me to get into it, I'll show you what disproves him.
Well, let's keep going forward because we've already been on this 15 minutes and we all see where each other's coming from, but we all, this is move forward for the audience sake. So yeah, this is one of your verses that you think speaks to that. But the one thing I want to say before we move on, well, we're moving on, but what you said is Jesus wasn't mentioned by name, and we'll agree it didn't say Jesus in the Old Testament anywhere or the Book of Remembrance, but that would be the same burden that the Jewish Messiah would be under too. Because do you see a name for the Jewish Messiah by name?
No, that's why you don't see me call him a name.
I know, but that would mean that when the Messiah in your worldview does come, then a person like myself could say, well, see, that's not the Messiah because he wasn't named in the book of remembrance. So that logic.
No, hold on, brother. When the Mashiach comes, the world will know because it's Yah's duty to make the world know, not mine. Listen, you can do that if you want to, and you can be crass with him and you'll be put to death.
No, I'm not.
Just like if you went.
I'm not going to be crass with God. What I'm saying to you
No,
is
that's what I'm saying.
Jesus wasn't named explicitly named Jesus in the book of remembrance. You can't use that as an argument to dismiss Jesus because then the same logic would be used for the Messiah, right?
Hey,
no,
hey,
it
hold
will.
on,
Listen, hold on.
Why would it not apply to your worldviews Messiah then? Why couldn't I say to you, well, say he's named David? Why can't I say, see, it doesn't say that the Messiah would be named David and just dismiss your Messiah? Why couldn't I do the same thing that you're saying?
No, you can do whatever you want to do.
Hold on, before you answer it, let me read the definition of firstborn
according to Bible.com.
Listen, according to Bible.com, it says the term firstborn therefore has two main meanings. The first is more literal, referring to the fact that this son is the first son to be born of his father. The second meaning refers to the rights and authority of a person because they are the firstborn.
Mm-hmm. But you couldn't show me that in the Bible. No.
I told you.
Hold on. Stop. Hold on. Stop. Hey, are you still in the blue letter, Jesse?
Yeah. I'm Ryan. Ryan.
Okay, Ryan. Ryan, pull up H1060.
Yeah, I'm here.
And read that.
Where we want to go to the outline, the firstborn, first thing.
Yeah,
of relation, figurative. Is that what we wanted?
Yeah, because that's what it is. Now, what he just gave was people giving exegesis on what they say it means, but Hebrew 1060 doesn't mean that.
That's not exegesis. That's
not exegesis.
Bible.org.
Brother, exegesis means when you're saying something that the text doesn't say to explain it.
It's not about what you look into the text. It's about the ancient culture. What did it mean at that time?
Bro, yes, the Hebrew word there is bakor. It means firstborn. Okay. It doesn't have another definition. He just read it.
So you're telling me the firstborn meaning for Hebrew, the Pharaoh's going to understand what it means according to Hebrew meaning. Is that what you're telling me?
Because hold on. Yes, because guess what?
The Hebrew.
First off, the Pharaoh spoke. They spoke. Come again?
I ain't saying nothing.
I couldn't hear you.
Go ahead.
You cut out.
Okay. So first off, we know that I don't know if you was here in the beginning, but the language Hebrew it's not called Paleo Hebrew, as Ryan was saying. It's Proto-Semitic. It's from the Sinai Peninsula, from the Sinai, and it's the Canaanites. It came from the Medu Neter, which is the Egyptian languages. It's the parent language is the Egyptian language. And when you have servants and slaves, you can't rule over people if you don't speak their language. You'll never know when they're going to revolt. You'll never know when they're doing certain things. So, of course, the Egyptians, because Abraham spoke to them, and he didn't speak Medu Neter.
Okay, right.
Abraham went into Egypt.
What you just said, right? You said the Hebrew language came from Egypt. I mean, it branched off from Egypt, right? That's what you just said?
Yes, the Afro-Asiatic language. Yeah, it's the Medu Neter. Then it goes into the Proto-Semitic, which the Canaanites and the ancient Phoenicians spoke. Then they started calling it Paleo-Hebrew. He can pull it up right now for you if you didn't know that.
Okay.
He can pull it up.
Okay. If the Israelites were in Egypt for 400 years,
430.
Egyptian 430 years, and they're using Egyptian terms to make their language. Wouldn't that firstborn meaning come from Egypt?
No, it doesn't. Listen closely. I'm going to go back and re-explain it to you. The Medu Neter is the parent language. The Medu Neter went down into the Levant, which is what we call the land of Canaan land. Okay? Canaan land. So in Canaan land, they spoke this same dialect, We see the Canaanites making treaties about circumcision when Dinah gets raped. They're speaking the same lingo. And at this time frame in history, the land of Canaan was a vassal land to Egypt. Correct?
Was the Israelites in Canaan? Was they in Canaan at that time?
No, what I'm saying, the language is. Because remember, this is being written in hindsight.
Came about? When did the
Hebrew language
came about? In Canaan or in Egypt?
No, in Canaan land. Because that's what I'm telling you. Just pull it up. Merunet is the parent language. That means it's the father mother tongue. But then the Canaanites created one called Proto-Semitic. That's what you're calling Hebrew. There really is no Hebrew language. It's called Proto-Semitic. Proto, and it was written in pictograph like the Merunetter.
So you're telling
remember the
me
Ates for Aleph, etc.
Yeah, I know all that. So you're telling me that Canaan has a meaning for firstborn, Egypt has a meaning for firstborn, and the Israelites has a meaning for firstborn. Is that what you're telling me?
What I'm telling you is all three of these cultures were intertwined. They all mingled together. They all lived with each other. And when they spoke to each other, they understood. And we know this because all the firstborn sons, not the ones with the inheritance, but the firstborn sons died.
Okay, so
it's real simple.
Where did Bible dot or get the meaning that the firstborn is the one who received the inheritance? Where did it get that meaning from?
From people making it up. That's called exegesis. The text doesn't hint at that or say it. That's why I asked you earlier.
Who made it up?
I said,
what people made it up? These people reading ancient texts.
They're not, hold on, stop. First off, they're not reading any ancient text in Paleo Hebrew or Proto-Semitic. It doesn't exist anymore. We talked about that when he first came on as well.
We're not talking about Hebrew or Proto-Semitic. We're talking about ancient cultures, ancient Near East. They get that definition from there.
I do you one even better. Show me an Egyptian that is called the firstborn, but isn't the firstborn. Give me his name. Give me the pharaoh name. Give me anybody name from Kemet.
I wouldn't have that information right now.
Because what you're saying right now. I got you, and I'm glad you're being honest. I got you.
Yeah,
I'm with you. But listen, and I've looked into that as well. So when you get a chance, look into it. I'll contact you via Lewis because I like talking to you anyway, like Brother Lou. But what I'm saying is,
when you coming back on again, and then I'll bring, because I mean with Kemet, I don't too much study Kemet like that.
No, I understand.
I would have to come back.
Listen. Because we're only talking about three nations right now. We're either talking about the Canaanites, the Cometians, or the Israelites. Because those are the three that are intermingling in this story. Correct?
Yeah, and the other ancient Near East, and the other ancient Near East.
Okay. So can you name it? Okay, good. So now, can you go on the Moabite Stela and show me anything of any king or anybody saying what you're saying? No, it doesn't exist.
I won't be able to do that.
That's what I'm saying.
So, I'm gonna have to. No, it exists. I tell you, next time I'm gonna bring the information up. I'm gonna source up and show you next time. It exists because I know I read and watched about it. So
I got you. But so what I'll do is.
Right now, we'll just put this on pause to next time.
No, I got you. And like I said, I'll get with Lewis. I got you. And what I'll do is I get with Lewis and I'll get your contact information as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah. I mean, we all brethren. Ain't no big deal,
Yeah.
Yeah. So good talking to you, brother.
But you could go ahead with Ryan. Yeah. No.
Okay.
Problem.
Good talking to you, brother. Your name? You said Lou, right?
Yeah, Lou.
Okay, good talking to you, brother Lou.
All right. What is your name? Man, I can't be pronouncing them Hebrew names, man. I ain't much gonna lie. You got a short version?
Well, it's Hezekiah. It's just Hezekiah, 3 syllables, like Hezekiah in Hebrew.
Hezekiah?
Hezekiah, like Hezekiah, King Hezekiah, son of Ahaz.
Oh.
Hezekiah in the Bible, Hezekiah. Yeah, Hezekiah.
Haveka.
No, no,
Haveka.
no. Huh? Like just say her, right? And
Huh?
then the Z-E-K is Zek. Zek.
Oh,
Z-E-K. Zek. And then Yah.
Zek, Yah. Okay,
Yeah, there you go.
Yah. Okay.
Yes, that's it.
All
Perfect.
right, no problem.
Perfect, brother. That was it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to leave, Lou. You can hang on. I mean, Rabbi
No,
Lewis.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm still here.
He was just saying about the stuff we were discussing, like about the.
Yeah. We just put a pause on that.
Man. We can move past that. I mean, we all can.
Okay, so let me ask you guys a question then, right?
Sure.
Okay, so Brother Lou, Ryan, both of you guys can answer this.
Sure.
Are you guys pretty astute in history?
Lou is more than me.
I'm not.
Yeah, he's being humble.
I know just enough.
Okay.
I know just enough, but I mean, whatever you bring up, I'll let you know if I know. I ain't gonna trying to force nothing.
So now listen, and I honestly feel that because even when we were just discoursing, you were honest. And that, like I said, I love that. Anybody, myself, for you, me, all of us, if we're honest, that's what it's all about, right? No matter what. There's really no losers when we're discussing information anyway. So let me ask you a question. So what year did King Herod die? Herod the First. What year did he die?
Herod the First, the one I think between 30 AD and 1 AD. No, 30 BC and 1 BC.
I'm saying, he can't die in 29 years. So what year did he die? Like, what year does he literally history have him is passing away?
Who are we saying?
I don't have the exact date because it is I ain't gonna say controversy, but it's still studying on because people trying to use that date to determine the birth of Christ. So I mean, you got some people that say the Roman changed the year.
Well, no, what I'm saying is Herod was a real physical person, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, he died. So can you pull it up, Ryan?
Yeah, Wikipedia. It said he died 4 BCE.
4 BCE, correct? 4 BCE?
Actually, it says or 1 BCE. It actually says or here. I mean, we all got to admit, when it says or, we got a problem. Like,
are you on Wikipedia?
Yeah. It says or.
That's why. Because you're on Wikipedia. I have about 50 books here, and none of them say or 1.
Which one do they say? Just 4?
Yeah, 4 BCE. There's no R1. Remember, the Romans kept meticulous records.
Yeah,
but at the same time, they believe Romans switched up the calendar, messed up on the calendar date. So there's a bit debate about that.
But that calendar wouldn't have changed when he died because that's in the Roman annals of history. What I mean by that is this. In Roman history, we have events, even in our history today. Like if I say 9/11/2001, y'all instantly think about what? Twin Towers, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, regardless of the calendar, regardless of the Gregorian calendar or whatever, you know that 9/11/2001 is when the nation was attacked, right? So the events are going to be in the history. I'm not discussing if somebody tried to say the almanac or Easter was it a different. That's not what I'm discussing. I'm saying that King Herod died in 4 BCE. And we know if that's the case, according to Matthew says that King Herod is trying to kill Jesus. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Okay, so then that means at least Jesus would have to be born 4 BC or backward or earlier, correct? Because he can't kill him if he's dead already, right?
We agree.
Okay.
See, that's what I told you. It's still an ongoing discussion about the exact date. I mean, because if you're gonna bring that up, I mean, I'm just gonna lie to you. I can't really give you a exact answer on that.
Well, I'm saying I'm giving you one, and you want to see a picture of it?
Yeah.
Let me show you real quick. Hold on 1 second, okay? Hold on 1 second.
Damn thing. Coolio died too. It said that's crazy. Coolio died. Getting old.
59 years old.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Coolio.
Oh wow. When today?
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's saying Coolio died. But yeah, I can't This sucks. I usually can close this no problem, but now I've hit the mouse 100 times. So
Okay. Let me know if you guys can see this, brother.
hold on.
Can you see this?
Let me try to make it bigger. Hold on. I'll make our screens bigger. But yeah, I can't even close what I'm sharing here.
It's highlighted.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we can read Herod. It's hard to.
Yeah, I can't see it. What did it read? What did it read?
Let me add a big screen. I mean,
Hold
anybody.
on, let me do it this way.
Man, I mean, the scholarly.
What about now?
Is this
No,
sucks.
I can't see it.
I can't
Okay,
even.
it says Herod the Great, 37 through 4 BCE, is the first of the New Testament Herods. His father was Antipater, and he was an Idumean. These were the Edomites, descendants of Esau, who were proselytes to Judaism. Herod was made king over Palestine, but could not assert his rights until he had captured Jerusalem in 37 BCE. Herod was cruel and ruthless. His rebuilding of the temple, begun in 20 BCE, was largely to placate the Jews. It was he who sought to slay Jesus by slaying all the male children, Matthew 2 and 13 and 16. That's what it says.
We agree it was a low
all right,
life.
all right, so are you trying to say Jesus was born around 4 BC?
Well, he had to be born before, because remember, Herod was trying to kill him before he died. Remember, 2 years old, and
but that's
the children all.
But that's the thing I'm telling you. That date, the date is an ongoing discussion.
By who?
Scholars.
By
what scholars?
Bible scholars.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Biblical
it's
scholars.
only. Hold on, listen. It's only an ongoing discussion with Christians. Everybody else in the world knows
biblical scholars.
Historians.
Yes, but Christians don't have
historians.
What historian? Name the historian.
I've heard the range on that date along as well, and nobody can pan it down. If you could show me a death certificate, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, hold on. So hold on. Stop. So I got you. I got y'all. Listen, I'm not even trying to narrow it down to a particular date. Right. So listen, it doesn't matter, because I got about 50 different ways I'm gonna spin this web. Okay, so listen what I'm saying. What I'm asking you is, did Herod try to kill Jesus?
That's the story, but we don't know when. We don't know when Herod died. We don't know when Jesus was born. It's a range.
Okay. Well, I know it's range.
It's a range. It's a range of dates.
Okay, but none of the ranges are in the common era, correct? Because if you tell me they are, I'm gonna ask you to put it on the screen.
None of the ranges are in the common era, but you cannot pin down an actual date, and that's the issue. You're talking about a couple of thousand years ago. I don't know where you're going with this.
Yeah,
listen.
Hold on. Just out of fairness, Hezekiah.
I'm
pronouncing it wrong. But we can't prove when Moses died. We can't prove when Abraham died. We always
no, you can't. I can. You
can't.
You can prove when Moses died. You can prove
well, Moshe died in 1400 BCE.
How can you prove that?
How can you prove it?
Because the Exodus was 1440 under Amenophis II. Yeah, the Pharaoh of the Exodus, Amenophis II. And then,
well, you got a little problem there, because let me ask you something. The slavery, the enslavement happened 430 years. Because if you go by the Bible, it says 215. So there's a lot of things.
I never said that. I never said that. I never said that. What you're doing is...
You mentioned 430. I specifically heard you.
No, that's the total sojourn. When you read the Septuagint, it says in the Septuagint...
Why would you read the Septuagint if you're going strictly for the Hebrew? That doesn't make any sense.
No, because
am I interested in a Greek translation? Look, you're playing word games. I've listened to you long enough. You're playing word games.
I'm not playing word games. Do you want me to explain it?
Why the hell would you go with the Septuagint? Why would you just go with the Torah itself?
Because you don't have an older version of the Torah than the Septuagint.
What are you talking about? Deuteronomy 4:2, do not add or subtract. I think they've been pretty damn good when it comes to that. Who are you kidding?
Hold on. Stop. Add or subtract what?
What does Deuteronomy 4:2 say?
No, I'm saying, what are you accusing me of adding or subtracting?
What does Deuteronomy 4:2 say?
You just said add or subtract.
Specifically, I'm not looking for word games. What does it say specifically? It says do not add or subtract. That's
And I'm
exactly
asking
what
you,
it
what am I
says.
adding,
And that means
subtracting?
do not add anything to the word. Do not subtract anything to the word. So
So
please
what am I
spare me
adding or
this question.
subtracting?
Look, your
Saying the
PHI
date isn't
argument
in the
really does
text. I
not
think
fly.
that's his argument. His
Okay.
Dave's
Well,
Jewish,
listen.
so,
Well, listen.
yeah.
I'm asking a question. You don't have an answer, so we can move on. 'Cause
No,
you
no,
don't have an answer.
obviously you don't have an answer. You keep on playing shades of gray here. When
Brother,
did he
I don't even know
die?
who you
When
are.
was
Now
he
you're
born?
coming on.
Nobody
Hold on,
knows.
stop.
You know exactly when Moses was
Ryan,
born.
Ryan,
You're full of it.
Ryan.
This is ridiculous. You go into the
Ryan,
Septuagint and you're
Yeah.
claiming that you're full
Ryan.
of
Could you please mute him
I'm
for a second,
sorry, I'm
please?
calling
Yeah,
bullshit.
I'm having technical issues on my screen, so I can't. I don't want to mute either of you guys. I want everybody just to
Well,
calm
again,
take a
here
step
we
back.
go again with the Christian behavior
No,
of
I'm
he's
not
coming
Jewish.
on.
Christian, pal.
He's
Get it through
Jewish.
your head.
He's not even a Christian. He's Jewish. He
I said
agrees.
with the Christian behavior. I didn't say Christian. I said
Okay.
Christian behavior.
No, I don't have Christian behavior, but go ahead.
Well, listen, listen, I'm just saying like this here. I'm not talking to you. You don't respect me. So you just call me a liar. So I'm not
Yeah, I
dealing
am
with you now.
calling you a liar. You're the one
Okay,
that
that's
said
fine.
that you could zero in on the date that Moses
So
died.
Ryan, this is how
And
you
I'm
run your
saying that you
podcast,
cannot.
Ryan?
So tell me,
I,
can you give me the exact
Can he
date?
be
No, you
muted then?
cannot.
yeah, listen, Dave, just calm down. That's just let me and him and Lou or whoever have a conversation. You're welcome to join in, Dave, but don't call people
Because
liars.
I don't even know why he's even trying to attack me because he's an Edomite.
Okay,
Well,
Yeah,
he's
I'm an Edomite,
go.
right? I am
Damn,
the one that
you
actually
done
knows
messed
the
up.
scripture better than
You
you
done
can.
messed up.
I'm
It's
having
my
technical
scripture.
issues
I haven't
with
seen
most
any
of
one
the
of you guys
screens.
ever write a Torah. So spare me your
I
nonsense.
can write a Torah.
You cannot write a Torah. You can't write a damn thing.
Well, again, you're just showing the vibes that my elder brother Esau had. You came on attacking me.
That's right. And you can't prove
Listen,
anything because
Ryan,
you gotta go
Ryan,
Deuteronomy 28
is
and
What
this
did you
what
say?
like you've
Hey,
always done.
relax.
I know.
is
Go
this
cry
what we're
me a
doing,
river of
Ryan?
your sweet tears.
I'm not
Ryan,
doing
is this what we're doing?
I'm not trying to have it go left here.
Ryan, I'm not Ryan. I'm not asking what you're trying to have. I'm asking you, is this what we're doing?
I don't know.
Okay, listen.
Hey, Ben Israel, just go back to the Harold situation. Just go back
I was
to the Harold
trying to,
situation.
but I got
Go
called
ahead.
everything
Just
but
go
a
ahead.
child of the Most High.
You're the one
You
that made the
gotta learn how
claim,
to.
and I called you out on it, and you're full of it. So if
You didn't call me out
tell
on
me the
anything.
date
I'm not
Moses
discussing
died,
anything with you
and show
anymore.
me your proof.
Ben Israel,
Show me your
Ben
proof.
Israel.
No, you
I'm not
cannot.
discussing.
So
I'm
shut
not
up.
discussing
Israel.
anything else with you again.